In a world that pushes you to react quickly, to answer instantly, to make decisions based on urgency rather than clarity, very few people ever stop long enough to understand the quiet truth shaping their lives. Emotion by its nature is immediate. It rises fast. It clouds perception. It amplifies threats, inflates desires, and creates illusions. But one of the least discussed lessons from Niccolò Machiavelli is not contained in his warnings about power or manipulation. It lies in his understanding of human impulses, the subtle ways people sabotage themselves, not because of what they think, but because of what they feel. Machiavelli observed something remarkably simple yet unbelievably profound. The moment you allow emotion to guide you, you are no longer guiding yourself. You become predictable. You become readable. And above all, you become influenceable. Modern psychology confirms this. Emotional reactivity activates the amygdala, suppressing the prefrontal cortex, your center of reasoning, long-term planning, and self-control. In this state, a person is not making decisions. They're just responding to internal pressure. They move without reflection. They speak without calculation. They reveal more than they realize. This is why Machiavelli considered emotional restraint not just a virtuous, but a strategic advantage. He knew that a person who can pause, who can stay still internally while the world around them loses control, naturally rises above the rest. Not through force, not through dominance, but through clarity. This video is not about suppressing your humanity. It's about understanding one of the quiet forms of power that most people overlook. The ability to step back from your emotions long enough to see the truth beneath them. Because when you become less reactive, you become harder to manipulate. When you think slowly, you recognize patterns others miss. And when you stop letting emotions dictate your choices, you begin building a mind that moves from strength rather than pressure. Today, we explore Machiavelli's forgotten insight, how emotion becomes a trap, and how mastering it gives you mental dominance in everyday life. Let's go deeper. Number one, reactivity makes you predictable. Machiavelli understood something timeless about human behavior. The moment a person becomes emotional, they become readable. When your actions stem from frustration, hunger, desire, or insecurity, you begin to follow predictable patterns. Patterns that others can use against you, often without you realizing it. A predictable person is easy to guide, easy to provoke, and easy to manipulate. But a calm person, someone who responds rather than reacts, becomes nearly impossible to influence. Modern psychology supports this idea through what researchers call emotional reactivity, a state where heightened feelings narrow your cognitive flexibility. When your emotions spike, the brain shifts from the prefrontal cortex, the center of reasoning and planning, into the limbic system, the center of instinct and impulse. This biological shift restricts your ability to think creatively, solve problems, and interpret situations objectively. You lose mental range. You stop looking at what is actually happening and instead react to what you feel. In this state, people repeat the same behavioral loops, pulling away, snapping, over-explaining, acting impulsively, or trying to defend their ego. Machiavelli recognized these loops centuries ago and used them to anticipate the moves of allies and enemies alike. But the real power lies not in exploiting others' emotions, but in mastering your own. When you learn to notice the exact moment your emotional temperature rises, something extraordinary happens. You reclaim control of the situation. That single second of awareness is the beginning of mental dominance. Instead of lashing out, shutting down, or rushing into a decision, you pause. Modern neuroscience calls this a pattern interrupt. It stops the automatic emotional response from taking over and gives your rational mind a chance to catch up. This small pause is not passive, it is strategy. It creates space for clarity. It signals to your mind and to everyone around you that you cannot be easily swayed, that you are operating from intention, not impulse. This is why calm individuals often appear powerful without saying a word. Their neutrality forces others to reveal themselves. People project, confess, assume, and overreact in the presence of someone who refuses to be emotionally pulled. Machiavelli would argue that this is the ultimate advantage. When you maintain inner stillness, the world becomes easier to read. You see motives more clearly. You interpret behaviors more accurately, and you avoid falling into emotional traps. In a world where most people are driven by their feelings, your calm becomes a form of quiet dominance. It is not loud, it is not aggressive, and it is not controlling. It is simply the strength of someone who cannot be moved by impulse. Number 2, emotion distorts perception. When you feel something intensely, your mind instinctively shifts its priorities, elevating emotions above logic in an attempt to protect you. Cognitive psychology calls this emotional reasoning, a mental shortcut where the brain treats feelings as facts. If something feels threatening, it must be dangerous. If someone makes you uneasy, they must have bad intentions. If a situation feels overwhelming, it must truly be impossible. But in reality, emotions are not designed to measure truth. They are designed to signal internal states. Machiavelli understood this long before psychology ever gave it a name. In The Prince, he advised rulers to step back from their impulses, observe from a distance, and separate what is real from what simply feels real. He knew that unchecked emotions distort perception, turning small issues into large crises and making subtle challenges appear catastrophic. Modern neuroscience supports this. The amygdala, the brain's emotional alarm system, can override the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for rational thinking, within milliseconds. This is why a person may react strongly first and reflect only later. When Machiavelli warned against trusting one's immediate feelings, he was essentially urging people to guard their executive function, to protect their clarity from the floods of instinctual emotion. In everyday life, this trap shows up in subtle but powerful ways. A misunderstood text message becomes evidence of disrespect. A moment of insecurity convinces you that you are failing. A surge of jealousy makes you believe someone is betraying you. None of these conclusions are necessarily true, but emotional reasoning makes them feel true, and that alone can shape decisions. Machiavelli would say that the danger is not the emotion itself, but the unexamined reaction it produces. The moment you merge emotion with reality, you surrender power over your judgment. History is full of leaders who made catastrophic decisions because they reacted emotionally, misjudging threats, misreading loyalty, or overestimating danger. And on a personal level, the same principle applies. Relationships crack when anger is mistaken for truth. Opportunities vanish when fear is mistaken for reality, and self-worth erodes when sadness is mistaken for identity. Clarity, Machiavelli argued, comes from distance. When you step back, breathe, and allow the first emotional wave to settle, the brain shifts from survival mode back into reasoning mode. Cognitive behavioral therapy uses this same principle today. Observe the feeling, question the interpretation, and test the reality rather than accepting it at face value. Your emotions may be valid, but they are not infallible. They are signals, not instructions. And when you learn to separate how you feel from what is true, you gain something far more valuable than momentary certainty. You gain the mental dominance Machiavelli believed was the foundation of all wise decision-making. Number 3, detachment creates strategic thinking. Emotional detachment is often misunderstood as coldness, but in truth it is simply the creation of space, a kind of inner room where clarity is allowed to breathe. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius taught that a person's strength lies not in suppressing emotion, but in refusing to be ruled by it. Machiavelli, observing the turbulence of political life, implied that the most effective individuals are those who can remain steady while others are pulled by impulse. Modern neuroscience now supports what these thinkers sensed centuries ago. When you create space between stimulus and response, you activate the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making, long-term planning, and strategic thinking. This space is not emotional numbness, it is emotional regulation. When something triggers you, your amygdala reacts first, firing signals of fear, anger, or urgency. Most people respond immediately from that place, which is why regret often comes after an emotional reaction. But when you practice detachment, even for a few seconds, you allow the prefrontal cortex to step in and reshape the moment. You shift from reacting to analyzing, from instinct to clarity. The Stoics called this discipline of perception, the ability to see things as they are without letting your mind distort them. Machiavelli noticed that leaders who mastered this internal pause were able to navigate chaos without being consumed by it. Today, neuroscientists describe it as top-down emotional regulation, where the thinking brain overrides the emotional brain. That tiny gap of awareness becomes a powerful psychological advantage. You speak with precision instead of frustration. You choose your battles rather than fight out of ego. And you plan moves that others never see coming because they are too busy reacting. Emotional detachment protects you from manipulation because you are no longer easily provoked, and it strengthens your resilience because challenges no longer feel like emergencies. It is the mental posture that allows a person to be both calm and formidable. Every time you create that space, you rewire neural pathways toward greater control, making strategic thinking your default instead of something you reach for, only when you remember. In a world that rewards speed and constant reaction, emotional detachment becomes a quiet superpower, giving you the ability to slow the inner world even when the outer world is chaotic. It is not about ignoring emotion, but understanding it, observing it, and then choosing your response with intention rather than instinct. Number 4, he who controls emotion controls the tempo. A lesser-known Machiavellian insight is this: people who master their emotions quietly control the pace of every social interaction they enter. Most think dominance is loud, forceful, or dramatic, but Machiavelli understood something far more subtle and far more powerful. Human beings naturally sync their emotional rhythm to the person who appears most stable. If someone is angry and you slow down your breathing, your speech, and your movements, you take control of the moment without confrontation. Their intensity begins to feel out of place, while your calmness becomes the standard everyone else unconsciously aligns with. If someone is anxious and you speak gently, keeping your tone steady and warm, their nervous system mirrors yours because of a biological mechanism known as emotional contagion. Research in psychology shows that nervous systems co-regulate. People tend to match the emotional state of the individual who appears safest or most grounded. And if someone around you is overly excited or chaotic, remaining steady isn't just a sign of maturity. It establishes you as the emotional anchor in the room. That's when people start looking to you for cues on how to behave, how to think, and how to respond. This quiet control is a form of psychological leadership that doesn't rely on charisma, authority, or dominance in the traditional sense. Instead, it works through composure. Machiavelli often wrote about the importance of appearing stable and predictable even when internal emotions are turbulent. In social dynamics, this principle becomes immensely practical. The person who maintains emotional neutrality gains influence over those who cannot. Modern studies in behavioral psychology and social neuroscience reinforce this ancient wisdom. Researchers have found that heart rates, micro-expressions, and vocal patterns tend to synchronize in conversations, and the person with the most regulated nervous system sets the pace. This means emotional discipline isn't just a personal virtue, it is a strategic tool. In everyday life, mastering this skill changes how people perceive you. You become the individual who never escalates unnecessarily, never panics under pressure, and never lets someone else's emotional storm drag you into chaos. Your presence begins to feel grounding, even authoritative, without you having to assert anything verbally. People trust you more, defer to you more, and behave more calmly around you because you become the emotional reference point in any situation. This is why emotionally disciplined individuals often appear wiser, more reliable, and more powerful. They don't dominate through force. They guide through example. And in a world where most people react instead of respond, the person who controls their emotional rhythm ends up quietly shaping the rhythm of everyone around them. Number 5, emotional neutrality protects your personal power. When you don't show emotional extremes, people cannot easily assess your weaknesses, insecurities, or desires. And this principle is far older than modern psychology. In fact, Niccolò Machiavelli understood this deeply. In The Prince, he observed that leaders who maintain composure, restraint, and emotional ambiguity are far harder to control because they reveal very little that others can exploit. This does not mean becoming cold, robotic, or disconnected from humanity. Instead, it means being intentional about what you reveal and when you reveal it. In psychology, this idea aligns with emotional regulation, a skill linked to higher resilience, better decision-making, and stronger interpersonal boundaries. When your reactions are measured, people are forced to rely on your actions rather than your emotions to understand you, which gives you psychological leverage. Most social manipulation succeeds by targeting emotional vulnerability. The moment you display anger, desperation, fear, or excessive excitement, someone with sharp intuition can trace that emotion back to an underlying need. And needs are what manipulators feed on. By keeping your emotional temperature steady, you remove the easiest entry points into your mind. This is why high-stakes negotiators, diplomats, and even elite performers train themselves to project calm neutrality. It creates an atmosphere where others second-guess themselves while you remain centered. Machiavelli wasn't advocating coldness, he was advocating mastery. He understood that influence is strongest when it is controlled, structured, and deliberate. When you choose what emotions to show instead of leaking them impulsively, You remain the author of your own narrative. People respect those who stay grounded under pressure, and they rarely attempt manipulation when they know they won't get an emotional payoff. Emotional discipline, therefore, becomes a subtle form of strength, quiet, strategic, and profoundly powerful. Number 6, mastery is not suppression. It is understanding. True emotional mastery is not about shutting your feelings down or pretending they don't exist. It's about understanding them so clearly that they no longer control your actions. Modern psychology calls this emotional regulation, a skill linked to stronger decision-making, higher resilience, and improved relationships. Machiavelli admired this kind of internal discipline because it gave a person quiet influence, power that didn't need to be loud or aggressive. When you acknowledge anger without speaking from it, you interrupt the brain's instinctive fight-or-flight response and shift decision-making from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic and long-term planning. When you notice fear without choosing from it, you're practicing cognitive reframing, a technique shown to reduce anxiety and sharpen clarity. And when you feel excitement but refuse to rush, you avoid impulsive behavior triggered by dopamine spikes. This is the calm dominance Machiavelli believed separated strong leaders from reactive ones, the ability to feel deeply but respond wisely. Emotional mastery is not coldness. It is the rare ability to stay steady while the world and your own mind tries to pull you in every direction. This steady inner posture is what makes a person unshakable. Machiavelli's insight has often been misunderstood as cold or ruthless, but at its core it is profoundly psychological. His writings quietly reveal a principle modern neuroscience agrees with. The human mind is easily swayed by emotion, and an untrained reaction can eclipse clear judgment. When the amygdala responds faster than rational thought, people make decisions they later regret. That is why Machiavelli emphasized composure. Emotional steadiness creates space between stimulus and response, a space where clarity lives. The individuals who rise in life are rarely those who explode, panic, or rush. They are the ones who pause long enough to see patterns others miss. History shows that leaders, negotiators, and thinkers who regulate their emotions consistently outperform those who don't, not because they feel less, but because they understand more. When you learn to observe your emotions instead of becoming entangled in them, you unlock a rare advantage. You become harder to manipulate, harder to predict, and far more grounded in your decisions. This is the true essence of mental dominance. Not aggression, but awareness. Not coldness, but clarity. Use your emotions as information, not instruction, and you will slowly shape both your inner world and the world around you.